has achieved his BCom and MSc in business, his fourth Dan in karate, his level 2 CSIA in skiing, and is a distinguished Toastmaster. He provides innovative solutions in real estate and is an entrepreneur in the arts. He's authored the book Ski, Zen, Love, and blogs as the Adventure Guy. Earl likes to combine his passion for business, sport, and art by sharing inspirational life lessons from his adventures. Please welcome Earl the Adventure Guy, Zen and the Art of Econoline Maintenance. Zen and the Art of Econoline Maintenance, Earl the Adventure Guy.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. It was the Montreal Summer Olympics in 1976, and I had the privilege to be surrounded by some of North America's most artistic and creative artists as I worked in my business selling jewelry in a courtyard in Old Montreal. And every day, world-class athletes would pass through this courtyard, coaches, Olympic staff, and I had this fusion of artists and athletes in my daily life. And I was impressed with these artists because they traveled and lived in vans around all of North America. There was Ron and Fa from California, Philippe and Suzanne from the Keys of Florida, and a variety of artistic, creative, and wonderfully kind and gentle people, and they influenced me profoundly. And I had a different idea because I had met my traveling partner a few months earlier, and I made an agreement to take a year off to travel around North America with him. And I had the idea to take a van similar to these artists, transform it, and live in it like they did. My father had a friend named Arthur who owned a meat packing company. And every couple of years he would buy trucks and replace them with new ones. And I bought a 1974 Ford Econoline van for $1,000. And it looked and smelled like meat, but with a reckless abandon of youth and unbelievable determination. For 40 days and 40 nights, Earl and I worked on this van. We sanded off the paint, we cleaned out the meat, we sprayed it with urethane so it would be warm in the wintertime. We built folding beds so we could put our gear below. We installed a gas propane heater. We put in running water, carpeting, surround sound, and a CB radio. When we were on the road, we were known as the Spirit from Chaume FM moniker. So we were the Spirit of Montreal as we communicated on the highway. We left in mid-October and started to Ottawa, where we met friends and tested the van. And it would get blown a bit by the wind when the trucks went by. But we learned how to adjust the steering as we drove further and further. We got our confidence, we got back on the 401, and we headed to Detroit. We crossed the border, we went into the United States, across the plains, back up through North Dakota, into Alberta, into Banff National Park. And from there we started our journey of skiing from Banff to Jasper, across BC to Vancouver, where we had a little transmission problem. We fixed it, back on the road, headed down into Washington State, Montana, Idaho, and spent our winters in Salt Lake City, Utah, and skied with the most outstanding freestyle skiers of the time. They were the best of the best, and Snowbird was only a few years old at that time, and it was a wonderful environment of athletes and California lifestyle living in Snowbird. When the bumps dried up, it was time to leave. We headed back across the Great Salt Lake Flats into California through Death Valley. And sure enough, when we got to the bottom of Death Valley, the transmission blew again. And it was a bit of a scary time because we didn't know how we would get out of Death Valley. But I think about it now is that it's only apropos. And we've landed up getting a tow out of there, and we were safe, obviously, because I'm here. But the question is, what is the point of this story that I tell you today? Because really, aren't we all spiritual beings traveling in a physical body similar to the van? Or I look at it as the ark. We live today in a pandemic where everything has been shut down, and we are traveling through time as Noah did in his ark. And our ark is our bodies, and therefore we need to take care of our spiritual beings. My father said to me that people put better gas in their cars than food in their bodies. And I wanted to share with you a little bit of martial arts philosophy and a little bit of thought from the world of positive psychology. The first is, in the martial arts we say, the spirit first, and the body will follow. So I want to share with you some spiritual thoughts that I learned from Yale University in my recent course in positive psychology from Dr. Laurie Santos. And it starts like this. Spend more time in nature. Because when you are in nature, you will see the beauty of God's creation. And it will humble you to realize that you are not the only animal on the planet. You'll see God's beauty and it will lift you up. The next thing is spend less time on social media. The problem with social media is that it acts as a social comparison. You'll see other people that have more than you, and you will feel bad about yourself. There's a high rate of female young girl suicides and self-harm caused by social media, social comparisons. Reduce time on social media. Practice an attitude of gratitude. We live in a time where we think that if we buy more stuff, we will be happier. The issue is there's something called hedonistic adaptation. When you buy that stuff, you will then become used to it. So as soon as you get it, you become adapted, and therefore you will have no more pleasure. What you should do is invest in adventure experiences, because those experiences of adventure will stay with you for your life, and you can re-enjoy them later in life. And the last thing I'd like to add is that spend some time self-reflection and meditation every day. We live in a distracted generation. We are being impacted by our cell phones, by our Twitter, by our Facebook, by our text, by Instagram, by so many things. Our minds are overwhelmed. And what we need to do is spend a little bit of time every day cooling down our brains. So I want to end by saying, I wish you peace in your journeys, and that one day you will find your Zen in all your endeavors. Namaste.